Hello everybody, I am Conquering History Games and welcome to Progress Report number 5 of Kalterkrieg, Shadow of the Second Weltkrieg. This is going to be covering technology and technology mechanics that are going to be different in Kalterkrieg. As per usual, there's a whole lot of material to cover, so let's just jump right into it. Good day, folks. As you know, this mod is set at the end of the 1940s. Unlike Kaiserreich, we cannot adapt the base tech trees into our own mod with a relatively small number of changes. Today will be the first technology progress report of 2 or 3, in which I will discuss some of the design and text that you can expect in the mod. The design philosophy behind this tech tree has been to extend and add on to the vanilla designs rather than to create a new tree from scratch. Although the techs are not a direct extension of the base game, the goal has been to create something that has a base game feel to it. For simplicity's sake, and also to make the game a little more grounded in reality, we have decided that technological developments mostly follow original timeline. Of course, Germany got the bomb rather than the United States, and there are any number of other different technological developments. But we assume that most technologies will be developed at about the same time that they were originally, because otherwise we would probably end up with zero-point energy sources and working fusion reactors by 1980 if we let our imaginations run wild. There have been a few changes, of course. Naval aviation has yet to become the totally dominant form of naval warfare due to the major theater of war being the North Atlantic rather than the Pacific Ocean. And some countries have not yet abandoned the battleship as an important component of the battle fleet. Similarly, the differences of strategic situations can lead to doctrinal differences from original timeline among the majors. The naval tree should be quite familiar to those of you with man the guns, although there are some significant differences. One of the big things that we are planning to add is frigates, which will initially serve as cheap anti-submarine and anti-air escorts before slowly morphing into more powerful warships that will be an important component of many majors' fleets. Destroyers and cruisers will also be important screening vessels for the 2 capital ships, battleships and carriers. Battleships will be phased out by the mid-1950s, except for certain select tags, which may continue to build big ships all the way into the 1960s with a certain doctrinal selection. This will be covered in a future PR. Carriers will become by far the most powerful vessels afloat in the 1950s, as any major naval battles will be decided by who has more and better naval air cover. Read this as carriers delete anyone without significant land-based support. Some countries may choose to invest in the ultimate symbol of naval dominance. As jet aircraft grow larger, carriers must also grow to be able to accommodate them. You can expect submarines to become much more powerful, especially if you are playing a major with access to nuclear propulsion. High speeds, long ranges, and low submarine visibility will make attack boats very capable opponents by the end of the 1950s. The anti-submarine warfare tree is pretty standard, although I have chosen to replace torpedoes entirely with torpedo fittings that deal light attack damage with high piercing levels in an effort to avoid the problems with submarine and torpedo spam. The torpedo mechanic will return in a later PR once we get into the 60s. Rotary aviation and shipborne reconnaissance and ASW helicopters are also unlocked in the 50s after the completion of initial helicopter research. These will be powerful additions to the ship designer that could greatly improve the capabilities of even smaller ships. Gunnery and damage control are also quite standard. Gunnery is somewhat de-emphasized with the arrival of naval aviation to the scene. Countermeasures are something that I felt the base game lacked. These modules, which can be installed in the place of armor or using other slots that reduce a ship's visibility and reduce the probability of it being hit. In this picture, we have basic radar jamming, tow decoys in the early prairie masker systems that were designed in the 1960s. I gotta get this music down a little. Sorry about that. Armor has been omitted from the tree, and no new armor will be unlocked after 1950, as it is simply not effective versus aircraft. Indeed, compartmentalization and damage control technologies will improve ship survivability. Transports in mine warfare are quite simple and should be familiar to anyone with man the guns. I do not plan any significant changes. Overall, naval technologies will place more emphasis on submarine/ASW capabilities in naval aviation than the gun line. You can expect carriers to inevitably beat the living daylights out of any task force without air support in this time frame. If you do not have man the guns, you can expect to get the ship types, the reactors, and the transport trees. Support companies. The support tree is a vanilla extension with two significant differences. The headquarters company is an essential component of all but a few division types. It significantly increases organization, recovery rate, and initiative, and provides bonuses to attack in many terrain types as well. Some tags will have access to alternative versions of headquarters companies, which boost their capabilities in certain terrain types at the expense of reduced capabilities in others. An example is regular headquarters companies, which are neither good nor bad in most terrains. Some tags which are engaging in guerrilla fighting may gain alternative headquarter companies, which boost their capacity in jungle and forest terrains while harming it in all others. Utility helicopters unlock both the utility helicopter company and variants of other base game companies, including scouts, medevac, and cargo helicopters. These all use utility helicopter equipment and are strictly better than their truck-borne counterparts, but more expensive. Infantry equipment functions similarly to base game, with one important addition so far: anti-tank equipment, which is only required once you have unlocked the tech for it. This is essential in keeping leg and motorized and even mechanized infantry competitive with tanks. It will be quite cheap, same as infantry equipment, but if you run out, you could expect dire consequences if your opponent has even lightly armored forces. Special forces function similarly to base game, except for a choice one has in 1952 between further airborne training and developing air assault techniques. Further airborne training provides a simple upgrade to paratroopers, while choosing air assault drastically reduces supply needs and paradropped combat malices while adding a large requirement for utility helicopter equipment. The Air Tech Tree. The Air Tree begins inspired by vanilla, but has some big changes once we get to the 1950s. Jet power brought some role changes with it. In this, we merge CAS, naval bombers, and tactical bombers into post-war strike categories, which is capable of doing close air support, naval, and port strike roles, as well as strategic bombing at reduced efficiency. Now I gotta get the music back up. Fast, well-armed interceptors at the time were also increasingly developed as smaller single-engine aircraft, and so they can be co-researched with fighters for a small research boost. Scout planes have been moved to subtechs of interceptors as their high speed and high altitude characteristics in this time frame made them suitable for reconnaissance aircraft. Transport planes receive their own branch, and maritime patrol aircraft become a subtech. Many maritime patrol aircraft were developed from cargo aircraft for passenger airlines due to their high fuel efficiency, potentially long loiter times, and reliability. MPA will fill the role of long-range land-based naval bombers, although they will be quickly defeated by interceptors or carrier-based fighters. Helicopters, as mentioned before, are an equipment requirement for several support companies and potentially paratroopers as well. But they are also an air unit. They can engage in air supply missions if you have Waking the Tiger, and once you have the appropriate naval research, they can also do mine-sweeping activities. Because utility helicopters may be based on carriers, you can now do naval invasions with a little less regard for seizing a port immediately. For example, this American Union State Division has landed in a province without a port. Normally, it would be helpless and slowly die of attrition due to a lack of supply. However, if you have a carrier nearby and base utility helicopters on it, you are able to carry out an air supply mission and prevent its slow death. You could supply it, but you will not be able to reinforce its heavy equipment, such as tanks, until it has a direct port connection. Tanks cannot really be airlifted. A few other mechanics. Besides tech trees, I have also been hard at work implementing two new mechanics, one of which I am calling technology spheres. Because with the advent of materials science and the highly advanced manufacturing techniques needed for the production of things like radars, jet engines, and advanced main battle tanks, not every country will be able to produce all aircraft and tanks. Germany, for example, is a highly industrialized nation able to produce these things on their own. But their client states in the Ukraine and other parts of Eastern Europe will not. To model this, we have technology spheres. Less advanced nations will not have all the prerequisites to research advanced technologies on their own. In this case, Ukraine has researched jets, but must wait for Germany to complete one research in the 1952 group of aircraft, which will enable all of those in Germany's technology sphere to work on all 1952 aircraft. If you have Together for Victory, joining a technology sphere will also add you to the leader's research group. The following countries will probably have tech spheres at the game start: Germany, Canada, and Japan. This system is fully dynamic. A new technology sphere can be created at any time, and new countries may join and leave technology spheres via focus/event/decision. For those of you with Death or Dishonor, equipment licenses have been revamped to be extremely cheap to obtain and with very little penalty to production. You could use that system instead of technology spheres if you wish. The required technologies may also be gained via focus/event/decision, so as not to gimp countries which do not join technology spheres. Any country that is a member of a technology sphere may view who is in it by looking at their research screens. Finally, I've recently finished working on nuclear weapons. Nukes in the base game are quite boring, ahistorical, and do not make sense, especially in late game, when one can simply pause the game and nuke the enemy's entire front line, then advance at will. In order to mitigate this problem, we have decided to model tactical nuclear weapons use and strategic nuclear weapons use differently. Tactical weapons simply provide a massive bonus to the country that is using them, and also increase enemy likelihood to begin use of nuclear weapons. When at war with a country that has been designated as a valid nuclear target, the nuclear decision category will show decisions to select that country as a target. Here, I am playing as Canada, and I'm at war with Germany and Danubia. I have already finished researching and testing both atomic bombs and thermonuclear bombs. So after selecting Germany as my target, I am asked whether I would like to deploy atomic weapons against Germany or thermonuclear ones. I can also cancel my target if I wish. Hovering over the decision checks the success of my strike. Factored into this is the level of my strategic bombers, the level of Germany's anti-air defenses, and the number and quality of their interceptors, and the level of anti-air and radar they have built in the targeted state. Here we can see that Brandenburg and Königsberg have higher defenses than the others, likely because of their anti-air or radar defenses. Because I want to be sure that my strike will be a success, I decide to increase the number of bombs targeted at each state. Now, with 13 bombs targeted at each state, I can see that Brandenburg is at 94% chance to be hit. My bombers will overwhelm their defenses. Launching the strike results in a massive nuclear strike all over Germany. Because I successfully hit their capital, they receive this spirit. And each state that is hit is pretty well fucked. This does not affect their ability to retaliate though, and shortly after this, Ottawa was nuked. I can do a second strike, and once that's gone, I could keep hitting any owned or court states that I haven't yet nuked. The only limits to the number of strikes you could do are the number of warheads you have and the number of bombers you have. But as you can see, the consequences of nuclear war, while not game-ending, are not fun. And the AI will usually initiate strikes if it starts to lose conventional wars really badly. And on that cheerful note, here's a nice picture of the formula used to check if bombers get through from Kagaru, who was a big help in figuring out the necessary math behind this, as well as the denizens of advanced technical in the co-op for dealing with my lack of Hearts of Iron 4 modding knowledge. The next tech progress report will focus on doctrines as well as tanks, artillery, missiles, and sensors. A few Easter eggs are hidden in this progress report. If you can spot which aircraft are used for default Jet Fighter 2, figure out what the B-31 Raid Master Art really is, or guess which country will be the first to build a nuclear submarine, comment below. And that's the end of the report. So that was written by Duodex. Thank you very much to him, and of course by the Weebhelm II. Name and profile picture here. I think that this is basically a soft confirmation that there will be a Moe submod of Kalterkrieg, and I know that we're all very much looking forward to that, also known as the true version of the games. So I just wanted to go back a little bit here, yeah, we were going to look again at the effects of the nuclear strike. So because the German capital was hit, they're going to take a minus 33% to their air mission efficiency, lose 1 daily political power a day, minus 25, recruitable population, weekly stability minus 1%, minimum surrender limit goes down by 50%, weekly war support is going to go down by 1%, research speed is down by 25%, factory repair speed is down by 25%, reinforce rate is down by 50%, and their daily command power gain multiplier is down by 50%. Flavor text says, the government of the German Empire has been nearly destroyed. While Wilhelm III and other essential personnel may have survived, communications breakdowns and severe losses of life in the capital have seriously impaired this country's ability to function. Military operations, the bureaucracy, and even civil society are all paralyzed as they try to pick up the pieces after a devastating nuclear attack targeting... I'm from Texas, that's why I say nuclear. You know, everybody made fun of W for it. It's because we're Texans. Targeting the German Empire's nerve centers in Brandenburg. Unlimited war in the nuclear age is unthinkable, and limited war unwinnable. Then we've got localized fallout. Hurts division speed by 33%. Division attrition goes up by 90%. Organization regain is crippled by 20%. Ground support goes down by 75%. Division attack takes a minus 25% penalty. Ground attack factor is also down by 75%. There's also nuclear atomic devastation, which is going to drop mobilization speed by 75%. Local factories are down by 33%. No more strategic redeployment in the area. Recruitable population down by 50%. You got to figure that that's also stacking with the minus 25% that happens to the whole country if the capital got hit. Local resources available is down by 50%. Local construction speed is down by 90%. And then local infrastructure, military factory, civilian factory, and dockyard repair speeds are all down by 66%. So yeah, whole lot more devastating than base game. So that's going to be the technology in Kalterkrieg. We still have a lot more progress reports to go through. As of right now, the second technology one has not come out, but as soon as it does, I'll do it. Thank you very much for joining me. Links are in the description below. And by the time you're watching this, I hope YouTube membership has been unlocked. So, you know, if you want to support the channel, button should be down there. I'm Conquering History Games, and you all have yourselves a wonderful day.